Well, welcome everyone to Applying to Graduate School presentation. My name is Micah Lehner. I'm the admissions coordinator here at CSU Chico, and I've been doing this for about 3 years. So I manage and set up all our graduate school applications in Cal State Apply. Before this, I worked in a department where I was participated in the admissions committees for graduate school. So I know a little bit about that end as well. And I applied to PhD programs and got into a couple myself. So as an applicant, got a little experience there. So hopefully this can give you a little bit of an overview of the process and some tips for just getting through the entire thing and getting your graduate education underway. So I've got some slides here that I will go through, but at any point we've got some other graduate study staff here monitoring the chat. So it'll be hard for me to maybe see you myself, but feel free to just pop in and ask any question in the chat, or using your voice if you want any follow-up on any of the points here. And we should have some time at the end for Q&A as well. So here we go. I'm going to share my slides. Looks like everyone's seeing that okay? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Excellent. Okay, so before getting into any of the details here, just wanted to make a point of this can be an intimidating process. So don't let it be intimidating to you. I know our Dean Barrios was talking about, imposter syndrome for grad students first starting their program, and it's this feeling that you don't really belong here, and somehow you snuck in and you're going to get found out. And I think that actually can start before you begin your graduate program, even in the application phase. You open it up and you see words you don't know, all sorts of links, and that can be like, okay, if I can't even understand the application, how am I supposed to even be in grad school? But so I just wanted to let you know that it's normal to look at this and say, this is hard, because it is kind of a long process and potentially unfamiliar, but don't let that stop you. It's the first point I want to make. And if you're watching this, you probably have already got your bachelor's degree or about to. And if you got this far and you have the desire to keep going to grad school, there's no reason why you can't get in and succeed in grad school, just as sort of a continuation of what you're doing now. So, grad school is more advanced and ask you to go further in your education, but just think of this as your 5th year and your 6th year of your education. It's not that radically different that you should be able to succeed. And one of the biggest keys, if you're watching this and you're paying attention now, that's a good thing, because one of the biggest things you can do to take away some of that intimidation and some of that just the dauntingness of the process is to start early. And then that allows you to take it piece by piece without having to just feel the weight of everything all at once and you only have 2 months left. Really, I would suggest starting about a year before you want to start your graduate program. So right now, the CSU system, at least, all the grad programs for this coming fall, so fall 2022, actually open in just a few weeks. So it's really, if you're a senior right now, finishing your undergrad, you really want to start the fall before, the fall of your senior year. Other schools might be different, but roughly this, I think, will hold true for most grad programs. Okay, so first step is obviously do a little bit of research about the programs you want to apply for. And there's just a wide range of interests, obviously. So it's hard to specifically give a comprehensive view of where to look to do research for your field. And disciplines probably have websites specifically for medical school or MBA programs. But one resource here is the CSU system as a whole has a web page where you can search what degrees are offered by campus, which campuses offer those degrees. That's a nice place to start. Beyond just poking around online and doing that sort of research, another thing I would recommend is asking faculty members in your discipline what programs they think would be good for you or would be quality programs for what you want to do, because they're involved in the field, so they would have insider information that you might not be able to get other places, and they have networks and know faculty in other schools. So we'll get to letters of recommendation later, but this is a good way to sort of start connecting with professors that you might want to write letters for you. A couple other sources, there's various third-party resource guides like Peterson's and Princeton Review. They have a lot of, they ask us, so every year I have to report to them data about how many students we let in, and acceptance rates and these sort of things. So that's a good place just to get additional statistics and a perspective on programs. You don't have to pay for either of those, but you have to create like a free account to get in there. So I would say it just as a general goal, try to identify at least 3 or 4 programs that you'd like to apply for, because you just don't know where you're going to get in, or it's just good to have options. It could be more depending on your discipline and what you want to do, but 3 to 4 I think is about a reasonable amount of schools. Then once you've sort of roughly figured out, okay, here's the programs I'm looking at, even if the applications aren't open yet, there's still things you can do to get yourself organized and get prepared as you get ready to actually do the applications. One thing, people organize themselves in different ways, but one thing that I found helpful when I was going through this is just creating a chart with all the schools that I was applying to. What are the deadline for each schools? List what materials I need for each schools in terms of, do they want a writing sample? Do I need to take a GRE or the LSAT or whatever? And then directions on where do I send these things? Yeah, more or less any information that I can glean from the schools, I try to put in there so I can kind of see the big picture of what's happening, and then you can check things off as you complete them. Of all the materials that you need for grad school, I think the first one that you want to think about and to identify is, do I need to take one of these standardized tests like the GRE? Because that's something that you can start preparing for right away. There's a lot of materials online, again, like test prep software. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for. At Chico, our regional and continuing ed does have GRE and other test prep courses you can take. It costs money. I want to say they're like $100 for each one, but I'm not sure exactly. It depends on which test you're starting for. Also, for these standardized tests, if you can take them early, the earlier you can take them, the better. You don't want to rush yourself and not be prepared, but you possibly would want to retake it. So it's good to leave yourself some time if the score didn't go, you didn't get the score you hope you got the first time around. There's always that option to retake it. And also just knowing that you do have the option to retake it, I think can relieve some of the stress, where if it's like, okay, this is my one shot and I know the deadline's coming up, and I mean, that can just add to the pressure of everything unnecessarily. So of all the things, definitely get your strategy for your test lined up, I would say, first. Then after that, start thinking about, I mean, invariably, you're going to need a letter of recommendation, probably 2 to 3. So that's another good thing to start laying the groundwork for early. So if you're in courses now with a faculty member, and you think you might want to ask that person for a letter, just do things intentionally to make sure that they like notice you, you create an impression, you know. So ask questions, or go up after class and say, hey, Professor so-and-so, I am interested in grad school, and which ones do you think, you know, might fit what I'm looking for, and that sort of thing. You don't have to ask them for a letter right then, but just lay the foundation for down the line when you do ask that letter. Like, oh yeah, I remember Carlos. He volunteered for this. You know, ask questions in class. And same thing for a writing sample. If your program's going to require you to provide maybe some academic work, have that in your head now as you're